So one question for me. You said that the situation with the 10 blue links is becoming more and more rare. And there are a lot of rich snippets around. So is that the time to bury the SEO, or what to do? How to be visible throughout these all new things?
Yeah, obviously we build a tool that tracks SEO, so we're asking every day what's changing and how are people going to measure. I think the reality at the end of the day is still that when you get traffic from Google, it has to come through a link. Someone is still clicking on the links, they're still there. So I don't want to make it sound like SEO has gone away. It hasn't. But I think it's about awareness. If you have a money term that's really important to you, and it's a 7 result page and you're number 8, well, you're on page 2 now. If there's a knowledge panel on the right and it's very rich, maybe people are being diverted. If everybody else has video thumbnails and you don't, and it's a video, you have to know this. So I think in a way it's just making SEO more complicated. Our tools are going to have to become richer, and you just have to be aware, and you can't rely on that number. We've relied on that number too long. I'm number 1, I'm number 3, I'm number 10. Well, being number 1 is still better than being number 10, but it doesn't mean what it used to mean. So I think it's about awareness. But no, I don't think SEO is going anywhere. OK, that's great news for us.
Have you ever heard about our Czech search engine, seznam.cz?
I don't. No, I apologize. It was kind of funny that Avinash came here and talked about Seznam, and I came here and talked about Google. No, I went to look. I really wanted to, but because you really have to understand the back-end code and be able to parse all this, I was only able to look a little bit. It looks like on Seznam you have vertical results, images, and things like that, but that's about it right now. That's all I really saw.
Yeah. So another question in Czech I'll try to answer, to translate. So what do website owners say to the fact that thanks to these adjustments, the users see their answers directly on the SERP, and they are not clicking on the website, so which decreases the traffic from the organic search for the respective websites? Yeah,
we've been trying to learn more about how it impacts click-through rates, and the problem is it just depends so much on the question. So I'll give you an example. Some sites that used to be very popular advertising sites were in the US were sites that might list like dates for holidays. So I might say, when is Mother's Day? And there would be a site that had all these dates, and they would have a lot of advertising, and that was their whole business. Well, now when I type, when is Mother's Day, it says May, whatever it is, and the year, and that's it. And it's Google, and I know it can be trusted, and I'm done. And those sites that relied on that business model are gone. And so I think these things are rare, but you have to know how your business model interfaces with this. And if your business model is just to provide answers that are already out there, that could be crawled or that could be in the knowledge graph, then you have to think hard about what's next. Because even for big sites, even if you look at an ESPN in the US or weather.com, how many people are going to weather.com now that my weather is in a huge box with the picture? It's actually a better weather report than weather.com, honestly.
But there seems to be some revenue share, right?
Yeah, there's revenue sharing in some cases. In sports, I'm a casual sports fan. I'm not. I don't have to know everything. So I just look at the scores, and that's all on Google now. I haven't gone to a sports site in 2 years.
It seems to be for the benefit of the users.
Yeah, so it really depends on your vertical.
Great. What do you think about the privileges that Google offers, like removing the penalties for big websites backed by strong VCs? Do you think Google is totally objective on organic?
Yeah, another one for the Google reps to cover their, including David.
Yeah, I can tell you something.
No, I'll give you my completely honest answer. So I used to work in PPC a bit, and what I'll say is this: I have no everything. It's funny. Sometimes Google and I are at odds because of the data I collect and how maybe they don't want everyone to know all of this. But my actual SEO work has always been very white hat, and our content, we're very content marketing focused. And I believe strongly that there is no direct connection between paid and organic in the sense that buying ads means you rank better. Now, I think it can affect click-through, it can maybe have an interaction, but I very much believe that those teams are separate. I think Google has to maintain that objectivity. But I will say this, I worked in PPC. When you have a rep on the AdWords side, and you have that connection, and you're spending, in some cases, I was spending up to 100,000 US a month for a client, there is influence. They can talk to people. And when you see the big penalties, you see somebody like a JCPenney in the US get a slap on the hand, yeah, I do feel like they take action a little differently. And it's not algorithmic. Nothing's looking and saying, you paid this much for ads, you're going to rank better. I don't believe that at all. I don't think that's ever been true. But to have the influence, it matters. And I think Google is also, you have to understand, you know, I think for you guys at Google, you're not trying to create a fair, I think the internet in the beginning, you know, anybody could rank, right? Anybody, no matter how small, no matter what they did, could rank. Google's job is not to create a completely egalitarian playing field. Google's job is to represent the real world. And so big brands have power and influence, and big brands are known by, you know, everybody knows Coca-Cola. So if I typed in Coca-Cola on Google and they weren't #1, you would look wrong. It doesn't matter how many links. Of course, they have links and everything, but even if their on-page SEO was terrible and they had no links, they should still probably be #1. And I think that's the challenge for Google, and that's where Google is trying to understand brand signals and offline signals. I think that's your job in a sense. So we don't always like it, but I
absolutely agree. Great. So another question. What can we do to make more knowledge graphs, site links, and so on show for search queries?
You can edit Freebase. It's not easy. It's essentially it's basically the database version of Wikipedia. So if you're responsible and you can build up some credibility and you can edit things and add things, you can actually make knowledge graph entities appear. There's a good article by Andrew Isidoro on Moz somewhere. There's been a good article by an Italian SEO where there was some bad information about a popular actor in Italy. And he went in a very kind of white hat way, modified it and added to it and made it richer, and it did impact the knowledge panel. It's hard because Google tries to verify across a couple sources, the best we know. So it's difficult, but I think if I wouldn't spam the knowledge graph. There's been a lot of SEOs kind of, and honestly, just because, first of all, it just makes a bad experience. It makes you look stupid. Google will change it. But if you see something like a local knowledge panel, that makes you look very credible. So if you can provide information in Google Plus Business, if you can provide information in Freebase that tells them more about who you are, that really makes your brand look credible. And so I think to go in and add good information is a very smart thing to do.
Yeah. Another question. You were talking a lot about desktop SERP, how the desktop SERP looks like. Do you think that the mobile search engine results page would look like the same, or there will be
no? So somebody talked the other day about mobile-centered design. I absolutely believe that Google is leading with mobile. I think when they saw click-through numbers start to fall on mobile and it started to fear that revenue would drop, they went completely to mobile-focused design. So I see the things I see in testing, they almost always appear on mobile prior to desktop. So when we got, well, we all got now the yellow ad boxes, when that changed to the little tag, that was on mobile for a few months, I think, before desktop. Yes, I'd be very aware of mobile. I didn't do screenshots, but I check my phone all the time now because I know whatever comes there. And carousels are like that too. You know, carousels look weird on desktop. They seem like a strange thing. But if you go to mobile and you're used to that finger swipe, that horizontal, on mobile, that's very natural. So you can tell that things are being translated. We used to think that everything would go from desktop and be translated to mobile. It's coming on mobile and being translated to desktop. I apologize if my Q&A is very hard on the translators. You have a very tough job.
Penguin 3. So Pete, please, can you tell us more about Penguin 3? Why is data pattern so different? Is it only data refresh or a regular update? What's your predict about future of Penguin and penalties in general?
Do you know? Can you tell?
Sorry, me? No. I can't comment on that.
There's been a lot of arguments. I wrote a long post about it the other day, and if you think this was a lot of boring data, then that post was even worse. I don't think it was big. I think what Pierre told us and some others from Google, that this was a data refresh, and it was not any larger than the last one. And I think, unfortunately, what we think is that because it took a year, it must be big. And so we named it Penguin 3, but that's just people in our US SEO industry. That's Barry Schwartz and Danny Sullivan. naming it Penguin 3. That's not Google.
Yeah.
It's just a name. I think it was small, and I think because we waited a year, our expectations were so high, but it was a refresh, I strongly believe. I believe, here's what I personally believe. I believe Penguin 1, which hit very hard and was punitive. You know, Google said flat out, this is to punish the rule breakers. For once, we're not going to worry about search quality as much. We're going to finally crack down on these things you're doing wrong. I think the collateral damage, the impact on quality was much worse than Google thought. That's my personal belief. I think that it really shook up SERPs more than they thought, so much so that they were they really delayed rolling out more Penguin and really reevaluated and probably spent a lot of time trying to understand Penguin. So I hope that what they will go to is more of a Galgo dance, kind of like a monthly and smaller updates, maybe every month or so, and sort of spread that out so that they can take small steps, see how the impact is, and go more like Panda was or like algo updates used to be. But honestly, I mean, I can't tell you, will that happen next? Will we get another one in a month, or will we have another year? I have no idea.
Great.
That's
so
what I wish you would do.
It seems, sorry, we are out of time. Thank you very much, Pete. It was a great performance. Super useful, very insightful. Thank you very much. Dr. Pete Meyers.
Thank you.